Our learning target for today is today I will learn about texture so that I can create a dragon's egg that looks like how it would feel if I could touch it. I will also create a dragon's eye to include in my composition. To get started, find a page that looks like this from your supply bag. You'll notice that it is not a thick piece of paper, it's just kind of a regular paper with directions on it. On there is our egg and our space to create our dragon's eye. To decorate your dragon's egg, choose anything you would like to decorate it with. It could be markers, crayons, colored pencils, paint, whatever you choose is great. I've decided I'm going to decorate with marker and crayon. You could be thinking about what the texture would be like. We've spent some time talking about texture, and we know texture is what something would feel like if we could touch it. Well, we can't touch a dragon's egg, but what would we imagine it feeling like or looking like, or what could it be like? Think about different textures as you decide what your egg might look like. Obviously, mine has bumps on it, but what if it had ridges or scales or lines that felt like burlap? It could be scratchy. It could even be hairy. It could be anything you choose. Show me the texture of your dragon's egg using the materials you have. Crayons, colors, markers, pastels, anything that you have will make your dragon's egg very cool. Next, we need to start talking about the dragon's eye, and I want to do a little tutorial on this other piece of paper to show you how. So draw the shape of an eye, and you could make it more oval. You could make it like mine, where it kind of has that tapered edge where it goes really small at the end. And then start drawing little square-like shapes around the eye. We're going to imagine that our dragons are very scaly, and therefore they have the small scales around the eyes. These little scales are square-like, but not perfect squares. Once I finish the first set of scales that are very small around the eye, I'm going to do a set that are bigger. Do yours need to look just like this? Absolutely not. Your scales might be a different shape. Your dragon's eye might be a different shape. That part is up to you. You'll notice now I'm making the rectangular or oval shapes slightly bigger on this second layer. I am going to speed this part up just a little, but you'll notice that my scales get slightly bigger with each section as I go further away from the eye. So there we have the outside of the eye, and I could keep adding scales if I wanted to. And now it's time to create the pupil, or the inside of the eye, the dark part of the eye. You can create a different shape than what I'm making here. Remember, this is just an example, but I want to highlight a couple of things. It's a great idea to have a hot spot or a reflection, some little part that is still white. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to start actually on my finished project. Going to do the same thing here, making it a bit smaller because remember, that egg is not that huge. I'm going to create the pupil, and I'm actually doing this one first. It doesn't really matter the order. I'm keeping a hot spot or a reflection that is still white. Now I need to start adding all the different scales. I really recommend that you do these scales in Sharpie. In fact, do your whole eye in Sharpie and then add color after. The black Sharpie lines will be great contrast as it peeks out through the egg. Again, I'm just going to fast forward me creating the eye, but basically I'm doing the same thing as I did in my sample. I'm creating a rectangular shape for the smallest scales around the eye, and then I will slowly build up to bigger scales. Finally, I will add color. This part's so fun as I think about what color of dragon do I picture inside this egg. All right, now it's time to assemble, and this part is the most fun because this is where the whole project comes together and we really get an idea of the texture in what we've created. It adds a dimension too. We're creating something that becomes three-dimensional. So the first thing you're going to do is cut out your egg. Make sure you cut it carefully so that we keep the shape of the egg. Okay, then you're going to carefully cut out the eye. Now, even though the eye is in a rectangle, and that's the part that you designed, it does not need to be that big. I only made the rectangle on that paper so that you would have a spot to create the dragon's eye. No need to cut it out. As you can see, I didn't use any of the lines. I basically just bubble cut around. Now you're going to need to poke a hole in the egg and tear it slightly. This takes very careful fingers, no big tears. Always start very small. You can make that a little bit bigger as you need. But the point here is we are creating the illusion that the egg has cracked open and the eye of our dragon is peering out. Now this is not to scale, of course. The size of eye of my dragon would be way too big for an egg, but that's kind of part of the fun. Dragons are something we can create any way we want. So from here, I'm going to be gluing down the eye and then gluing my egg over the top of it. Just be sure that you can line up the eye and the dragon. From there, it just needs a good rub down to make sure that it stays in place and our project is complete. These are going to look so cool. I cannot wait to see what yours look like. Be sure to take a picture and post it on our Google Classroom. Here are a few other examples to inspire your dragon eggs.